Hi friends, I'm Umashankar Pandey and this is the Dr. USP channel. Communication is not a natural science in the sense that there is no one overarching principle explaining communication. In reality, there are hundreds of theories of communication, different in intellectual styles, content, and even underlying assumptions. Robert T. Craig in 1999 tried to bring together all these disparate theories into one constitutive meta model. It is known as the 7 traditions of communication theory. Later on, in 2007, he added an 8th tradition. Let us see mastering the 7 traditions of communication theory in this video. Robert Craig proposed a way of understanding communication theory as a field of thought that could be productively coherent without attempting to reduce its topical and epistemological diversity. Despite some ideas in communication theory dating back thousands of years, the field only began to establish itself as a distinct interdisciplinary area in the mid-1940s. In 1999, Robert T. Craig proposed a framework for understanding communication theory as a coherent field without negating its diverse topics and epistemologies. Many different models of communication have evolved over the years. The constitutive meta-model by Craig serves as a model of these models, showing various ways to understand and use communication in practical situations. According to this meta model, the goal is not to agree on one true theory of communication, but to explore multiple perspectives and approaches. The 7 traditions in communication theory proposed by Robert T. Craig are rhetorical, semiotic, phenomenological, cybernetic, socio-psychological, socio-cultural, and critical. The rhetorical tradition emphasizes the strategic use of language to persuade and influence audiences. Originating from classical rhetoric, it focuses on the speaker's ability to craft messages that resonate with their audience. Key elements include rhetorical devices, audience analysis, and the context of the speech. As the concept of communication gained prominence in the 20th century, rhetorical theory grew beyond its origins. In his pioneering philosophical work on rhetoric, Aristotle defined it as the art of discovering the available means of persuasion. In the rhetorical tradition, communication is seen as a practical art of discourse. It involves mastering communication techniques, developing a critical awareness of these techniques, and making wise choices about what and how to communicate in various practical situations. Roman orator and statesman Cicero believed that only oral communication could elevate humanity from a brutish existence and establish communities with citizenship rights. He suggested public speaking in a democratic forum was more effective in solving political problems than rule by decree or force. This setting involves a speaker influencing multiple listeners through persuasive discourse, emphasizing the need for effective audience adaptation. The semiotic tradition explores how meaning is created and communicated through signs and symbols. This tradition examines the relationship between signifiers, which is the form of a sign, and signifiers, which is the concept the sign represents. Semiotics is essential for understanding how media language and culture shape our perceptions and interactions. Influenced by seminal thinkers like Charles S. Peirce and Ferdinand de Saussure, the 20th century saw the development of sophisticated theories to explain types and systems of signs and their functions in the mind and society. In the semiotic tradition, communication relies entirely on the creation and interpretation of signs to share meaning or transmit information. Cybernetic Tradition views communication as a system of information processing and control. It examines how information flows within systems, the role of feedback in maintaining system stability, and how systems adapt to changes. Communication issues are seen as system malfunctions, such as information blockages or escalating conflicts, rather than persuasion or shared meaning. In this view, communication is a functional process, not dependent on conscious intent, and human consciousness is a form of information processing similar to that of computing machines. For example, a customer service department might use a feedback loop where customer complaints are logged into a central database, analyzed for common issues, and addressed through process improvements. The Phenomenological Tradition focuses on individuals' subjective experiences and interpretations of the world. It emphasizes understanding communication from the perspective of the person experiencing it. This tradition values empathy, authenticity, and the co-construction of meaning in interactions. Phenomenology emphasizes direct experience. It contrasts with the semiotic view that meaning is shared through science. Phenomenological theory focuses on communication as a subjective experience, emphasizing human consciousness and intentionality. It describes how we interpret and make sense of the world, including other people, through our conscious experiences. A key concept in this tradition is genuine dialogue, an authentic interaction where individuals experience each other as full persons, I, you, rather than as objects. The Socio-Psychological Tradition examines the individual's psychological processes in communication, including how attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors are influenced by communication. The socio-psychological theories have been extensively applied in communication research to explain media effects and interpersonal interactions, forming the dominant tradition in current communication research. Social psychology focuses on understanding and diagnosing communication problems to find effective solutions, aiming for scientific generalizations. Unlike rhetoric, which sees communication as an art tailored to each situation, social psychology seeks broad scientific explanations. Socio-psychological theory emphasizes human factors like personality, emotion, and motivated cognition. Socio-cultural tradition of communication theory emerged from the ideas of 19th and 20th century social theorists like Emily Durkheim, Charles H. Cooley, John Dewey, and George H. Mead. This tradition views communication as essential to human society. On the macro level of the society, communication functions to integrate and coordinate the various institutions of a society. The socio-cultural tradition explores how communication practices shape and are shaped by social and cultural contexts. It focuses on the co-construction of social reality through language and interaction. This tradition examines how cultural norms, roles, and identities are created and maintained through communication. Our successful communication with one another depends on a shared context of social institutions. The critical tradition analyzes communication's role in perpetuating power structures and ideologies. It seeks to uncover and challenge dominant power dynamics and promote social justice. The modern critical tradition of communication theory began in the mid-19th century with Marxist critiques of capitalist ideology. It evolved through the mid-20th century Frankfurt School theorists. Critical theorists argue that most communication is distorted by ideological assumptions and power structures that perpetuate social injustice. The goal of critical communication theory is to expose these oppressive ideologies, question the status quo, and promote progressive social change. While other theorists criticize the critical tradition for politicizing scholarship, critical theorists counter that supposed neutrality often supports dominant ideologies. Critics argue rather than fostering dialogue and respecting differences among theoretical traditions, Craig's meta-model reduces and assimilates all traditions to a single imposed model of communication. The meta-model's relativistic stance, suggesting all theories can be useful for different purposes, avoids addressing questions of truth and epistemology, providing no means to adjudicate between theories or correct errors. Craig in 2007 agreed with one critique and proposed pragmatism as a potential eighth tradition within the meta model, discussing its implications as a pragmatist theory of communication. However, Bergman in 2012 criticized this approach, claiming that this version of pragmatism oversimplifies the tradition and aligns it too closely with social constructionism, neglecting the important strain of philosophical realism with pragmatism. Craig in 2009 proposed that scholars could advance the 7 traditions of communication theory by 1. An appreciation of diverse traditions, 2. Crafting comparative applications where a practical issue is examined through multiple contrasting traditions, 3. Offering deeper or more precise interpretations of specific traditions such as phenomenology, and 4. Reinterpreting the entire field from various meta-theoretical or cultural perspectives. Thanks for staying along, friends. As always, it was a delight having you here. I'll be back with another video very soon. Till then, have a great time.